Okay, so I'm reading a story called Little Boy Blue, and I haven't made a video in a little while because I haven't had time. And I don't know, I wanted to play like Minecraft or something, but I currently cannot use my right hand, so maybe I'll try it later, but right now I can't. So, once upon a time, there was a little boy called Little Boy Blue. Because that wasn't his name. He lived on a farm with his mother and daddy and 3 cows and 10 woolly sheep and a little white lamb in a flower garden. Little Boy Blue loved the 3 cows, the 10 woolly sheep, and the little white lamb, but most especially he loved the flower garden and all the flowers in it. One day his daddy brought him a blue horn with golden stars painted on it. And when the little boy blew the horn, it sounded mighty sweet to him, like bread and honey, and it sounded mighty sweet to the cows in the meadow, like wavy yellow corn, and it sounded mighty sweet to the woolly sheep, like grass and singing brooks, and it sounded mighty sweet to the white lamb, like his mother calling him. But to the fairies who lived in the garden, it sounded sweetest of all, like dancing in the moonlight. Little Boy Blue played all day in the garden until, when the shadows had put the sun to bed and the birds were singing lullabies, the night wind came to the garden bearing a message from his mother. "Come here, Little Boy Blue, supper time and bedtime too. Little Boy Blue, I'm calling you." The little boy tucked his blue horn with the golden stars under his arm and waved good night to the flowers in the garden. The roses bowed good night, and the forget-me-nots curtsied good night, and the merry columbine nodded good night. But one little purple pansy was nowhere to be seen. I will tell you why. The pansy had crept into the horn, and when Little Boy Blue went home, the pansy went too. And when he was tucked into bed with his blue horn and golden stars beside him, the little purple pansy lay quiet until the moon looked in the window. When an exciting thing happened. You know, when the moon shines, the fairies leave their flower homes and dance in the meadow until daylight. So when the first ray of moonlight climbed down the sky, up jumped the purple pansy fairy and sang, "Little Boy Blue, come blow your horn. The fairies will dance on the meadow till morn." Little Boy Blue sat up and rubbed one eye, but before he could rub the other eye, the pansy fairy had whisked him out of the room and down the stairs and into the meadow below the garden gate. He didn't forget the blue horn with the golden stars. The pansy fairy saw to that. The moonlight followed them into the meadow, and as Little Boy blew his horn, all the fairies' music came pouring out, like stars playing tag with each other, and the fairy sang, "Under the green wood, who loves to dance with me? Come hither, come hither, come hither." The fairies lived in the flowers in the garden jumped up when they heard the sound. Out of the tulip came a young lady fairy in a bright red skirt. Out of the daisy came a fat little boy in white. Out of the forget-me-not came a wee baby in blue. Out of the violet came a darling little girl in the palest purple. Out of the roses came lovely fairies, all in pink. And out of the water lily nearest the fountain, the queen of the fairies in a white satin dress and golden crown. She could open the gate by herself, and she let out the fairies on the green grass, and they danced while Little Boy Blue played sweet music. All night long they danced and danced, until first thing you know they heard a sound. It was the chicken telling them that morning was on the way. "Cock-a-doodle-doo! The sun is after you. The fairies all must go to sleep, and so must Little Boy Blue. Cock-a-doodle-doo." The little purple pansy fairy was the last to go, and just before she left, she threw some fairy dust into the little boy's eyes, and he rubbed his eyes, but the sleeping feeling wouldn't go away. He dropped down by the haystack in the meadow, and before the morning sun could creep through the grasses, he was fast asleep. The fairies hurried into the garden and cuddled in the flowers, for if they didn't get in their beds in the time, the sun will change them into butterflies, and they must fly all day from flower to flower with nowhere to rest, and they get so sleepy. And the sun woke the 3 cows and the 10 woolly sheep and the little white lamb, but it couldn't wake Little Boy Blue because of the fairy dust in his eyes. His daddy looked for him and said, "Little Boy Blue, come blow your horn." The sheep in the meadow, the cows in the corn, where is the little boy that tends the sheep? Under the haystack, fast asleep. By and by he awoke and rose and ran home to tell his mother about his remarkable adventure. The end.